In this video I'm going to take off a drop target unit and replace the drop targets on it, and I'll show you how I do it. I desolder all the wires after I've taken pictures of everything on the phone or on a digital camera. I prefer doing it on a camera itself so I can look at it on a laptop, which has a bigger screen than a phone. Even the best of us won't remember where everything goes. Now, some of these wires are pretty obvious where they go, but I just take photographs of all of them, so you've got a reference of how they come back. There's a close-up of a cluster of wires at the back there, which is an important picture to take. And make sure that the thing is in focus before you check your photographs before you take it out. Then it's undoing the 4 screws that hold the unit to the playfield. Rip it out, but carefully. Make sure you're not breaking anything in the process. Once you've got it on the bench, you can now go and inspect it. Make sure everything is how it should be. You don't have like broken linkages or worn out bushes or missing springs or whatever. Just give it a decent check. Each drop target has 2 springs associated with it. The one of them pulls the target down and the other one pulls the little arm down. So I'm undoing the back plate. The back plate I take off completely. And that will expose the innards of it. And here you can see I'm undoing the top spring that just pulls the drop target forward, using a tweezer to get it over that little catch there. And this is put it to you this way, this is a video edit that makes it look easy, but it can be tricky. So you need like a sharp pointy thing that you can hook under the spring and lift it over that little hook on the drop target itself. Turn it around. Now I'm going to loosen the bottom plate but not take it off completely, just 1 or 2 turns on the screw just so that it's wobbly, because you need that free play in it to be able to remove it and to put it back in. You'll see how or why now. The top plate I'm going to remove completely, and this one has been accessed before, so the top screws are Phillips and the bottom ones are slotted, but it makes no difference, it's a screw. It goes in there, and what you should do is put them back using a little bit of Loctite. So now the thing is ready to be done. If it's greasy, because a lot of people think they can solve the problem by oiling it, then you can hose it down with benzene, put it in a spray gun and just spray it down. So here I'm just pushing the drop target itself back, and that little arm there has got a burr on it from connecting on something. So I'm getting my Dremel tool out. Actually, this is a Proxon, which is a better product, and just grinding off that little burr there that stops it from going out. Just getting that done. Once that's nice and smooth, it'll come off nicely. So on this take, I've only undone the spring that's connected to the drop target itself. There's another spring connected to those little arms that go through the drop targets, but you don't need to take them off. I mean, if you're going to do it a decent clean, if you're going to give it a decent clean, then yes, you'll be disassembling everything. Just like with wires, take pictures of everything. And here you can see me putting the drop targets back. The old eagle eye Ed will notice that I'm putting them back in the wrong position. But this is not I'm not trying to show off here. I'm just trying to show to you what's the easiest way to get these things out and back in. So I'm moving that little arm to the side, and because everything is sort of loose and wobbly, on the one hand it's difficult to manage, but on the other hand it gives you like the free play you need to get that arm into the little slot. You repeat for all of them, and once you've got them back in, you can see my bloated hairy knuckle. But anyway, that's the easiest way to do it. And I'm going to refer to this video again one day, because you don't do this every day and you forget, so you end up unscrewing things that you don't really need to unscrew, and you make life very difficult. So now those little brackets I took off to loosen the top plate, I'm just going to put them in by hand loosely so that it just stays together, because I'm going to flip it around now. I've got a nice little bench vise that makes my life a lot easier. So I'm just doing up those screws to get the top plate to sit where it's supposed to sit. There we go. There's one of them, and also a little bit of Loctite will help. Okay, now we're ready to put back the back plate, but I just want to make sure everything is where it should be. And here you can see my 1 and my 6 is in the wrong position, so I'm not going to show the video where I supposedly quickly put them back, because it's not quickly. This has been edited and sped up a little bit, but at least it shows all the steps. So I've got a forceps there that I hook the spring onto the drop target first, and then at the bottom you'll see when you're disassembling them, there's a little hook on that arm that it hooks back onto. So on the drop target first, and then down to the bottom of that little catch. It repeats for 4 of them, or sometimes, well, in this case it's 4, but you get different size drop target banks. The Gottliebs all work the same. Gottlieb is a very staunch system. If it works, it runs for decades. But when you need to service it, man, there's a lot of undoing and redoing to do, especially with these boys and with the score reels. The score reels are horrible compared to the Williamses and the Bally's, but they're rugged, I'll give them that. Just tightening up the screws, make sure the back plate is on the right way around. This is also take 2, because I had it the wrong way around the first time. There's those little brackets. And here we go. And by the magic of video editing, I've got my targets in the right order now. Just making sure they work and that they're not sticky. Catching. Okay, back onto the playfield. Carefully drop the target heads into the slot. Make sure that switch goes in the right spot. You line up the holes with the holes in the playfield and screw it down. I'm holding a screw with like a tweezer there, just because there's no way to hold it with my fat fingers without driving myself bonkers. And after consulting my extensive library of photographs, I'm just reattaching all the wires. And it might sound like a lot of work to do to unsolder this and resolder it and unscrew the whole thing, but most of the work is done on the unit itself. And if you're going to sit there with your head upside down with this playfield still in the machine and try and do it that way, well, good luck to you. I hope you've got anti-inflammatories, because you're going to do something to some back muscle. I'm not saying which one. We've all got our dodgy discs. There's the coil wires. They're pretty straightforward. I mean, most of these wires will sort of end up in the position that they're going to be in, but you can never be too careful. On these old analog machines or the electromechanicals, there are no diodes on the coil, so you can wire them either way, makes no difference. And now we'll just refer back to our photograph again to do those back wires, because that's the switches that, are we all down or is there some of them down, and that's an important bunch. So photographs, people, photographs. And tweezer, I like holding onto that little wire with a tweezer because it gets really hot. I mean, the tip of that soldering iron is 350 degrees. And that heat travels up the wire. So if you're trying to hold it there until the solder sets and your fingers don't have thick calluses on them, you're going to do that a couple of times and swear. You'll have a choice vocabulary if you don't use a tweezer. So I just use a tweezer. It makes life easier. And a decent soldering iron. I like the local stuff. Magnums are cool. Used to have a Weller. They're nice, but they're too expensive. And don't buy this Dutch import shit, please. Just buy Magnum and get it done. Go to Communica. I've got 3 of them, and I wouldn't mind having another one. Now that I've got them in, just making sure that they work, just flipping that playfield around, making sure there's no friction between, and just making sure that I've put the cassette in the right position so that, the targets don't rub on the slot and so on. Thanks for watching.